Welcome back to another episode slash session of the Departure Lounge. I'm excited to be in conversation for this conversation with Lisa Marshall of Good Work Co. We're going to be talking all about CRMs and tech and what happens when you are not planned for that side of things on your departure. Lisa, before we start, will you just share your website where people can find you if they want to poke around while we are chatting?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is Good Work with no S anywhere, just goodwork.llc. You can also find it on my LinkedIn profile. Good Work Co. That might be somebody else's name. I couldn't get Good Work Consulting. There's so many, it's too many letters. Per usual, Lisa talks too much when she made the name of her organization.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that you brought up when we were talking and planning for this was kind of that recurring litmus test of when you win the lottery and you retire to the mountaintop, which I love because we don't say when you're hit by a bus, could someone else find what they need in 5 minutes? And so we're going to be talking about that from that angle today. Could you just jump in to kind of the 3 pain points that you want to make sure to cover in this call and in this session, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so I just kind of want everybody to imagine some of the things that I bet they have already experienced, right? So when someone leaves, even if it's just for vacation, we are thinking about, oh, well, who's going to have access to their email? What's in their email that we need to have, that we need to know about, right? Or what about all the projects that are going on right now? Like, how are their files organized? Is everything like on the shared drive or on the SharePoint, or is it like local on their computer? And then what about passwords, right? Like, so like there are all these things that we're like, wait, we need the thing so that we can get into the thing so that we can do the thing, right? And I bet everybody who is watching this either right now or in the future has had some version of that experience, right? And I think they're all kind of the same problem.
Well, and either they're going through it now, they will in the future, or they have literally the lived experience of it going bad in the past. And they are all the same problem. And I think what's interesting is we don't talk, because it's not sexy to talk about it, the systems piece of departures. And so I'm excited. Could you talk, let's just jump right in. Could you talk about what happens on that technology side when someone leaves? What are the things that maybe people aren't thinking about that they could lose access to, lose track of, etc.?
Sure, right. So I think that one thing to think about is who owns what files. So lots of folks are using Google Suite for their businesses, for their organizations. I use Google Workspace. You want to make sure that files are living in a shared drive so that the organization is actually the owner of the files, so that when that person leaves, if it's just shared if it's in their My Drive, right, or if it's just in the files that only they have access to, right, like there is an analogous version of this for Microsoft also, then and if they are the owner of that file, then it's going to make it very difficult for other folks to find that information after that person's gone. And this is going to be especially difficult if not everybody is using like an organizational email. If you have friends who are, supporting the organization, your staff, maybe y'all don't have, maybe you're still just using Gmail addresses. If you're like a very young, new organization, you're definitely not going to be able to access those files if they're not tied into an organizational domain or email address. So that's one thing to think about. I think also same idea, passwords, right? Like, are passwords saved in someone's own Chrome or Edge account that you don't have access to? I don't want to say that a spreadsheet full of passwords is better, because it is not at all, right? Password managers are very affordable and plentiful. And that's something that folks need to think about is how can we access the passwords that we're going to need. Yeah.
And that's something that comes up a lot with our clients as they're exiting and doing their departure and their transition work is most organizations we work with do not have a password manager. And you're right, it is so affordable. It's not a big deal. There's ways that you can navigate it too so that everyone can easily add their own. There's like high level protection. It's really a no-brainer, I think, to have a password manager for nonprofits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it is, and so I think sometimes people might wonder also like, well, but why can't I just use the one that is embedded in Google? Or, well, that one, you can use that. Obviously, there are password protections in there, but they are tied to your specific account and you can't share them. Password managers are wonderful for all kinds of reasons beyond just continuity when someone leaves an organization. They also make it great when we have to all get into the same portal for grant applications, or we don't want, we want everyone to have access, but we don't want them to be using the same password because we want to be able to see what users are doing what things. So password managers are great. Agree.
Yeah. I think the other thing that happens a lot in the clients that we work with is the dreaded two-factor authentication.
Yes. Yeah.
The reality is that we are leaving jobs for different reasons. There's retirement, there's resignation, there's termination, death, long-term physical needs that, caregiving, whatever. Two-factor authentication, if you haven't set it up so that it's not reliant on the person's cell phone who is leaving to give you that code, is another big technology piece.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just another reason to be using a password manager, to have things set up in a way that the organization and everything that you've worked so hard for and that you care about can survive beyond you. Because I think that anybody who does this work, that's what they want, right? Nobody is like, I don't want anything to last beyond my tenure. That's not what we want. That's not what we're thinking about.
Yeah. What would you say is the thing that kind of lands the most or the most painfully when a key person is suddenly gone? And I want to clarify, like, key person does not necessarily mean the CEO. It might mean a program director. It might mean a frontline staff person. But what's that pain moment that you see the most, even if someone's just gone for a week?
Yeah, I think it's just the way processes that no one ever even really thought about, or it didn't even occur to them that it was a process, how those things can break down. And that's where we kind of get into this idea of like a single source of truth, which I think is like very much like an IT kind of Silicon Valley term. But in our use case, what we mean is a shared kind of culture within the organization and understanding that there is like one place that we go for all the things.
Yeah.
And so that might be shared drives, that might be SharePoint if you're using Office, that might be, it can be different things, but everybody is committed to creating that and caretaking it and making sure that they're consistent, that they can continue to put information there. I like to think of the best kind of single source of truth being like a work management system. So a software, I'm, platform agnostic, but things like Monday or Asana or Trello or Basecamp. I mean, there's so many, right? And they all have their own pros and cons. But because there you're giving access not only to documents, files, but also to processes. And that's the thing, when somebody leaves for a week and you think that they think they've written down all the things, and then there's something that someone forgot about, or a surprise pops up and people are like, oh, we don't know how to do this thing, but it's important. It's like, it's that urgent and important quadrant, right? And then the person that's gone, like, let's say they are just on vacation, they feel crummy. They get back and they hear that there was like a breakdown or a fumble, and that bums them out because they worked really hard to get everything. It stresses people out while they're gone, and it's preventable.
Yeah, it really is. One of the things that you mentioned that I love so much is you were talking about knowledge being trapped in email. You kind of talked at the beginning about email. Could you talk a little bit more about company memory? Because I feel like that's really, really powerful. And the reality that most of us do keep all of that just locked inside our email inbox.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll try not to get on my email soapbox or share my manifesto, but y'all, email is canceled. Let's just stop. Email is for communicating with external folks, and even then, only in certain ways. That is the hill that I will fight to stand on. But we all have the experience of managing projects and from inside of our email and being on long chains where there is like key information, and we all know that that's not a very effective way to store that information. We can't even find it ourselves. Imagine somebody else now, like, you're searching, like, where's that email? I know So, but yes, I mean, it happens. And I think that's where, again, thinking about some of these more sophisticated work management systems, something beyond, you do need like a shared drive, right? But in addition to that, you need some kind of structure for people to be able to go search and find things so that you can have institutional knowledge again that's codified, right, in something. And so for lots of folks, they have a development CRM. Okay. And so ideally, yes, you're recording interactions and information about certain relationships in that CRM. So if people have never heard of like work management, or they're like, oh, project management, but that's just for software developers, think about a CRM, but think about now a place like that, but it is for managing all of your day-to-day work, and then also like the Q2 things, the things that are really important, but they're not urgent, the things you want to get to. And there are ways to integrate your email with it and share with team members, and everybody can go to that one place. And now your institutional knowledge lives there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's accessible for everyone. And I also think that that's more equitable.
It really is.
Because we're not accidentally gatekeeping things, right? By having everything in our one email account, and we're the ones, and it's our relationship, and it's our thing that we're doing, instead of opening it up for everybody.
I love that. And for folks that aren't familiar, CRM stands for either customer relationship management or client relationship management. And we recently started using one for our business as we grow our team. And I will tell you that power dynamic is a hard thing to let go of, because I realized I didn't know it was happening, but my email, every email I send, ends up in the CRM.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, good Lord. I was not ready for this. But what it has done is exactly what you said. It's taken me out of being the gatekeeper. Anyone from my team, like you said, can now go to that client and see what the communication has been. And I think it's so powerful, not only for me to release that stronghold over the information, but it is so helpful if I'm sick tomorrow or if I take an extended break. It's so smart. And I want to dig in a little bit more. You talked super briefly about the CRM being a helpful tool for the findability problem. There's so much that goes into an organization. When we are supporting an organization who's having an executive director leave, the inventory that we ask them to fill out is so long. Vendor passwords or vendor contacts, history for accounts, who has the keys, who can sign off on the bank statement, all of those things. And we know it somewhere, but we can't find it. Can you talk a little bit more granularly about what a CRM, like how, I know you're platform agnostic because you always say the one that you use is the one that's the best. Is that simple search? Is there more to it? Is it like, can someone start tomorrow with a CRM process? And maybe what I'm asking is, what's the onboarding time to get an organization from, we don't have anything like this, to we've got a system?
Yeah. Well, just like all of our organizations are complex and nuanced, and there's a lot of intricacy. Work management systems eventually can get to that point as well, but it doesn't mean, right, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Okay, please get started. Um, and that can look a lot of different ways. But okay, and let me also talk about AI for a second, because so, now you can take, let's say you have a paper process. You just mentioned, Naomi, that you have like this long laundry list of things, right, that you need exiting leaders to give or supply, right? You could take that list and feed it into whatever AI tool you use, or the AI that might be embedded in the platform that you've chosen. And it can help you start creating kind of like a system, right, for reporting that information. I think that actually onboarding and offboarding, I mean, we know people don't think about offboarding. That's like part of your whole, right? But so onboarding, right? How amazing would it be if there was a checklist that everyone could see, and not just check things off, but add notes to and ask questions and mention people and, all of these things, right? It's like, if you could do that, for onboarding and then also for offboarding, over time, you make this very robust, granular, like you said, system, where people can go to and find things. And you can, you're hyperlinking, you can search it, right? So you're hyperlinking to documents, you're checking to make sure they're up to date. And AI really, like, it shortens that time scale so much. Shameless plug, I will also say that it can be a big undertaking too. I think that what happens a lot for folks that maybe have started using a work management system, or they've tried to adopt something, they're like, my friend used Trello and it was amazing, and so now I'm going to use that too for my organization. But it's a lot of moving pieces to get a whole team, right, on the bus, in the right seat, driving in the same direction, right? And so I have a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks that talks about kind of what it takes to kind of make a system stick. And I will be offering a course coming up that people can access and use, and then also have office hours where we kind of talk shop and dig into things. So I can share that URL at the end, but it is hard. It is hard to get started. There's a lot to think about, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try.
Yeah.
And even just starting with one piece, like, taking that paper list that you have, that list that's in a soft copy document or even a hard copy document, you take a picture of it, give it to your AI and say, I need help turning this into, building this into my Trello board, or building this into my Monday account. So lean on AI to help you get started.
Well, and I think that's a great segue into what my next question was going to be, is I know that people watching this are thinking, this is overwhelming. Like,
Yes.
we know that it's overwhelming to not have a system, and the idea of creating a system also feels overwhelming.
Yes.
What would be the one thing besides hiring you? I mean, you should do that too. But what's the one thing that's a realistic thing that someone could start with today? Maybe they're going to share this video with their team and say, we've really got to get going. What's the one thing that they could start with?
Yes. I honestly, today, which is July 22nd, 2026, y'all, today, if someone asked me that question, I would say, first, talk to your AI about it. And I have all kinds of feelings about AI. Okay. But this can help you ideate and plan and think about, kind of going through that process, being a thought partner. Nobody liked group work in high school. And now it's all I want to do all day long, every day. And so your AI can be your group work partner that also turns things in on time, not just you. So, like, talk to your AI and help elucidate what are the most important things to you right now. What do you have coming up in your organization, right? What do you have that you really need to kind of get that house in order? And then ask it, like, these are the resources I have, or this is what I'm thinking about doing. And it can help you make, a first step plan. That's one of the things that I love about it so much, is that it can help you get over the hump for things like this that can be complicated. So I would do that. And then I would identify who are going to be the key people that are going to help make whatever you've decided you're going to work on, who are going to be the key people that are going to help make it successful? Who do you need in your circle to like make it happen? And then just try it, because this is like software. These are Google Docs. These are what's the worst that can happen? Truly, like, let's like think for a second. What's the worst that could happen? You have to add another column or make another row or start another card or another Kanban board. You know, like these systems are iterative, and they're meant for you to try and then try again. So don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and just give it a shot.
I love that. I also think too, Lisa, about the beauty of asking your team who wants to be a part of this work management system project. I think there are so many, and I'm not saying this to say add more work to your people's plates, but there are some people in your organization right now who would love to be able to help support this. It does not have to be on the one major decision maker to run this project by themselves. And so I think that's a beautiful opportunity to also just get the team involved. Plus, it helps with buy-in too when you do choose that system and you need everyone to get on board with Basecamp or Asana or whatever it might be.
Yes, exactly. There are people on your team who are like quietly thinking about this as they sit at their desk every day, like, why don't we have blah, 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 blah. I wish we could do da, 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 you know?
Yeah.
All these different software, you know, they have like an intro period, but it's short, you know, like 2 weeks, a week is not really a lot of time to like build a whole work management system. I am pretty platform agnostic, but I will say that for most nonprofit organizations, you have access as a nonprofit to 10 licenses on the pro level, which is like just the one, that's the tier you want. It's the one tier below like enterprise, from monday.com. So if you want to try one out and just see what it's like, and you want to have more time than just like a 1 week trial, you have like a free forever unlimited trial of Monday.
Is that through like TechSoup, Google?
Nope.
It's just Monday.
Just go to the Monday website. You don't even have to do the TechSoup thing. Love TechSoup, but just one more. That's just one more step. This is no steps. This is monday.com. I won't even give you my referral link because you're going to get it for free anyway. So
I didn't realize that existed. And I think what a beautiful example of just try something. I think we get so hung up with like, well, we've already invested time in this, or someone on our team wants to use one of these other platforms, but you don't know what you need to adjust or amend or add in until you try it. So I love that that's a recommendation. And up to 10 licenses is fantastic.
That's for a lot of like small to maybe even medium-sized organizations. That is plenty. And I think it's a 70% discount off of additional licenses after that. So it's very affordable, and you can, yeah, I mean, it's just so low risk, right? All you're risking is time.
What's your recommendation, Lisa, if say the programs team says we need this and we're going to try monday.com, and then launching it to the rest of the organization versus it being a whole organization decision to start with? Is there pros or cons there?
For sure. I mean, I think that that's a great way to get started. I mean, the likelihood of, if your organization does not have a chief technology officer, which I'm assuming most people watching this webinar, you don't have that. It is gonna, right? Somebody's gonna have to put on the technology hat. There's somebody on your team that helps set up the laptops, or is the person that talks to the managed service provider that sets up the laptops or whatever. So like you said, we got to find our people that want to help with this project. And I do think that it can make sense to start with one department and in kind of that sheltered environment, right? Like see what the system can do. How would you organize things? Of course, there are going to be lots of great free resources on YouTube and, you know, through just Google search of how to use products. And there are folks that will help you set these things up. The other thing I would say is like, just how like if you were launching a new website, you would be in test mode, right? Like you're not like dink and then it's live without any. So you would kind of play around with these systems in a sheltered environment where it's not actually the form that volunteers fill out yet for interest, right? And once you've kind of played with it a little bit and thought about it and gotten input from different folks, then you can launch it. I think the other thing, so doing one department at a time can be a great way. And even one department at a time, think about one workflow within that department. Because like the purpose of a program, of a software like this, is not like we've all seen like the spreadsheet workbook that has like 75 tabs and every sheet has like 37 rows or columns, right? We're not trying to replicate that in now just put it on the internet. That's not what we're trying to do. So you're going to want to think about like what workflow lives in this one space and then what other workflow lives in this other space, right? So you kind of get a wedge, you get it in there, and then things can grow from there. Yeah.
I love it. I also love that you mentioned that the platforms also have support that you can go to. And you mentioned there are people also that you can hire to help you with this, you being one of them. I'm so excited to hear about your course launching. I think that's one of the beautiful things that we see all the time in the consultant world is someone comes to us. The work of transitions is not budget line items yet. It will be eventually. That's part of what we're doing the departure launch for, is to encourage more and more people to just be ready and prepare. Talk one more time, Lisa, as we wrap up, about your services, what you offer, maybe a little more about the course and why that will be a good fit for some nonprofits versus working with you directly.
Sure. So I am an operations nerd, and I love organizing things and helping people set up systems, and that goes from like the human side of things, like all the way to the nitty gritty of where are we actually doing the thing, right? And how are we doing it and the execution. So, I mentioned my main website, which you can find on my LinkedIn profile, and is goodwork.llc. There are places there where you can send me a message. You can message me on LinkedIn. I offer like fractional operations leadership support. I also can work with folks on a project basis. So let's say that you have a strategic plan and you actually want to implement it.
Go figure.
Like, so let me be clear. I don't, no shade, but like, I don't want to help you build the strategic plan. I just want to help you make it not a $50,000 PDF.
Yep.
I want to put it in a work management system and like figure out how we're actually going to get it done.
Yeah,
okay.
I love it.
So I'm going to help you build out work management systems. And then my course. So if you go to, again, kind of a little bit long, all the short URLs are gone, y'all. Everything's got to be long now. I'm happy it's a .com. Nonprofit powerup.com.
That's not long. That's fabulous.
Thank you. Nonprofitpowerup.com. If you go there, you can sign up for the webinar, which is happening in a couple of weeks. It's a masterclass. It's free. It's going to talk about what the elements of a good work management system are. And the product that is attached to that webinar is very affordable. And it's kind of built into two pieces. First, we build behind the scenes using templates that I've developed that are specifically for nonprofit organizations. We build out workflows for all of your departments. So for like operations, development, and programs. Okay. I also give you a tool for figuring out how, like, this is the buy-in piece, getting folks into the system. We help build everybody an individual inflow board, right? So they can be funneling their work into the actual system. So they'll actually log into it in the morning and then use it. And then the second half is I give you all of the training resources that you need to actually implement the program. So, you're going to have that tech champion in your organization who is going to be responsible for kind of this thing happening. And I give you all of the training decks and the templates and the tips and tricks for the norms that you're going to need to decide on and figure out, right? And then it comes with office hours. So for an extended period of time, once a week, we all get on Zoom together and talk about these problems of practice. You can get advice. All of those are recorded and you have access forever. So, you know, an organization can use this now or they can use it later.
That's great. I so appreciate your operations nerdiness, Lisa. It's one of the things that I think is missing in a lot of organizations because we promote folks that might not have the ops chops that you do. And so I'm encouraging folks that are watching this to reach out to Lisa if that could be of help. Lisa, thank you so much for this conversation. I also just want to name one more thing. So it's a very small thing, but you said, this is a hill I will fight to stand on. And I love that reframing and that change of language. And I just want to thank you for being so thoughtful about the way that you communicate and bring your impact to the world. And I'm thankful that you could join us for this session.
Thank you so much, Naomi. That's so nice of you. And I just really appreciate the chance to chit chat with everybody about this. And don't be afraid, just give it a try. The worst thing that's going to happen is you have to press the delete button.
Right. Which is a lot better than the worst thing that could happen if you don't start.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Thanks for watching this session. And like we've said for all the other sessions, use this as a tool to start the conversation with your board. Use this for a conversation to start with your funders if you need some funding support, or with your team to get folks on board. And you can say, well, Lisa said so. Thanks for joining us, Lisa. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.